You are in bed.
Hello, this is Matthew Robert Payne. This is a conversation with some saints in heaven. When I come and do this, seated in heavenly places, so I can see myself at a long dinner table, like a monarch or a lady or a king has. About 15 seats at the table. To my right is Jesus. Next to Jesus is Mary Magdalene. Next to Mary Magdalene on the right is John Lennon. John Lennon's wearing a party hat. I don't know why that is. Perhaps he can tell us. To the right of Mary Magdalene, I said Mary Magdalene, didn't I? To the right of Mary Magdalene is John Lennon. To the right of John Lennon is Michael Jackson, but simply not up to their standards. To the right of Michael Jackson is the Queen. Then Prince Philip is there. My mother, June, my father, Bob, the Apostle Peter, the Apostle Paul, Toulouse's husband, Benjamin, on the other side of the table, Toulouse, our child, and Benjamin's firstborn son wasn't born, miscarriage, was stillborn, Emmanuel. And can you think of anyone else that's at our dinner table?
What about Princess Diana?
Princess Diana. Sorry, Princess Diana. I missed you. Yeah.
You miss mom and dad as well.
No, I said mum and dad, June and Bob.
At the beginning. Okay. Maybe I missed that out.
See, Toulouse. Sometimes I talk too much, and Toulouse just switches off. But we've got to excuse her for that. It's really good that she's opening up and laughing here on video. She's really expressing herself. Prince Philip says, you think running England was hard? You should have a wife that's running heaven,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we're pretty busy opening up buildings here, and we didn't even ask you a question, Prince Philip, and you started talking already.
I think that's another way, Matthew. Maybe we should ask whoever needs to talk because sometimes we never get to people that might have something to say. So,
Princess
Prince
Diana says, please, please tell the people when you can, perhaps when Toulouse publishes this book, that my death wasn't organised by the Queen. It wasn't an elite hit. It wasn't done by any sort of conspiracy. There's a lot of events that sounded like it was. There's traffic lights and stuff that weren't working stuff. But I didn't lie to you in the first book that I said my death was an accident. If it was a planned hit, it may have been something different. But my driver died, and my lover died, and it was certainly wasn't planned. So let the people of the world know, and the people listening to this know, that my mother-in-law didn't kill me, and that's a stain on society, and it stains my mother's reputation. I really love her, and over the years here, since she's been here, every day, you mightn't know, but every day on earth is like 21 days in heaven, like 3 weeks in heaven. So my mother's been up here about a year. It's like she's been here for 21 years. We've really fostered a great relationship, and we're just two bulls in a paddock. We're just two strong-minded people that got together, and we clashed. And I had ideas, and you don't have ideas in the monarchy. You listen to what the Queen says, and I had ideas. I had a way about me. I certainly wasn't impressed about Charles having an affair and the Queen just letting it go. I didn't understand that was part of polite society, having an heir and a spare, and then you start to play around. I had no idea that, and I was just a lost young woman growing up to see that the world certainly wasn't fair, and I don't regret coming home. I call this my home. That Jesus is the only husband I'll ever take from now on, and I don't regret coming home. I've enjoyed every part of being home, and in time I was like a superstar on earth, and there was a lot of attention, and it's a sad thing that when you look back at your life, you say, well, what did I ever do that brought meaningful change? You know, did I change anyone's person's life? Did any person change direction because of me, or was I just in all the papers and being interviewed and having pictures taken, and I was just this glamorous princess, but I didn't really change much. I didn't really do anything. People just loved me, and I look at Matthew, and no one really reads his books, and certain people read his books, and he puts videos out, and not a lot of people watch his videos. But when some people read his books, they change forever. Their whole life has this like refreshing outlook, and there's like Matthew's like a catalyst for change, and he has an effect. He certainly had an effect on heaven, and I see Matthew as a whole lot more successful in heaven. When he walks through heaven, when he's asleep at night, he walks through heaven. People rush him and mob him when he's walking down the streets, and he stops and talks to all of them, and until the whole crowd dissipates. He talks to everyone and has a good talk to them. People of heaven love him, and he's more of a celebrity up here than Michael Jackson and I were on earth. And he not only has public experiences, but when he interviews the saints preach to heaven and transform heaven. And so Matthew's doing an amazing job here on earth, and you're doing an amazing job here on earth, and I really love you. I had to step in. Prince Philip was first, and Tulu is right. It should be two-sided rather than she's right sometimes, not all the time. It should be two-sided. If we want to ask a question, or we want to start to say something, we should be able to say something. It shouldn't just depend on the questions of
you're right.
Tulu. So, of course, you'd have to be aware that one of us wanted to talk, Matthew, and but we can do that. You're bipolar. You got a manic depressive mind. You can do amazing things. So what do you want to say to Princess Diana, Tulu?
I think what you just said now about the Queen, it's something that I believed as well for a long time, that your death was actually caused by the royals. And I think maybe because of the noise around how you separated from Charles and all of those things really, really clouded people's judgment. And we just thought that was what happened. But after watching The Crown, I was able to know that that wasn't the case, that it was a coincidence and it was nothing to do with the royal family. So I'm really happy that you've been able to develop a very close relationship with the Queen, and the relationship is now restored and healed. And I'm so happy that you can boldly say that out as well for people. Not so many people watch our video, but hopefully in the books that we've written, and maybe Matthew can do a shot on that, because Matthew likes doing this shot, and sometimes this shot goes viral. So I would say that might be a good suggestion, Matthew, if you don't mind, just doing a shot of that, just saying this is what
Got to be a
Princess
minute. I got to do a short that's a minute, so less than a minute.
Yeah, I think that should be able to, you should be able to say that in less than a minute. But that was really brave of you, and thank you for clarifying that as well. So there might be some people in heaven as well that might think likewise, but hopefully you're not just speaking and saying this information for people or not for people in heaven as well. So thanks for saying that. So Princess Diana, I know for a while we've not really spoken. A lot of our conversations has not really come your direction. What are you doing at the moment? What is keeping you busy in heaven?
Well, most of my time, I'm designing dresses, and I'm a fashion designer, but most of my time is teaching school children, and
Okay.
I really love the children. And Jesus will turn up to my class and teach the children, and I really enjoy. It's like he's got messages every time he turns up for the children. He's got a message for me, and there's a lot of adults in heaven that hang around the children and sit down and listen to when Jesus is speaking to the children. And there's millions and millions of children in heaven. There's lots
Wow.
of children. There's nearly more children than adults in heaven, because that's how much abortion's happening.
Oh,
And
wow.
so Jesus spends a lot of time with the children, and I really appreciate when he comes to my class and teaches my children. So yeah, I work on my intimacy with Jesus. It really helps meeting up with him once a week. And I've been really enjoying the new sound in heaven, and what
Mm.
John and Michael are bringing. And I'm enjoying some of the love songs that the three of them are producing. Uh, they in the last couple of weeks, they produced a Taylor Swift song that she's
Mhm.
going to release. It's going to be popular.
Oh, wow.
And they've done 2 Beyonce songs so far.
Mm.
Yeah, so they're working pretty hard, and yeah. So that wasn't talking about me so much; it was talking about them. Um, probably your interest. You're probably interested in that. I'm just a lovely princess, but I've been helping the Queen doing official functions and opening buildings too, besides treating the children. Never, I just wanted, I just loved Charles, and I wanted to support Charles. It was never my intention to be the most popular princess in the world. It was never my intention. I just wanted to serve England, and
Mhm.
now I assist the Queen and I serve heaven. But my particular focus and my greatest love is the children. And Jesus has got so much. Jesus, Jesus can do any job. Jesus is like he's like Elon Musk times a 10 factor. He can be a
Mhm.
butcher, he can be a plumber, he can be a carpenter. He can do anything. He's a genius, and he understands everyone. And so he's a great teacher. Sometimes he takes over the lesson and just doesn't tell one story, but he takes over the lesson and takes the lesson plan and teaches my lesson plan. And he's a very good teacher. He's a better teacher than me. And I didn't really know what love was. You realize if you watch the film about me where I um, dated the surgeon, I had a relationship with the surgeon. You'll understand that I loved him, but when I get to heaven, I found out what love was, and it's
Mhm.
pretty hard to get serious with any man when Jesus is serious with you. And so. Yeah, he can take the heartache away and cure the hurt and the pain. And every couple that was married on earth are married in heaven. and there's a misunderstanding on that verse. People don't get to heaven and fall in love and get married. There's no marriage in heaven, but certainly people who've lived together for 50 years, have faithfully been together, they don't live in separate houses in heaven. They live together if they choose. And yeah.
Thank you, Princess Diana. I don't know whether you're aware, but you will probably be aware that Harry and Meghan visited Nigeria a few weeks ago, and that was really controversial. What do you think about, what are your thoughts around that?
Matthew has got no awareness, but I believe in Harry. I believe in Harry, and Meghan is just strong-minded and knows what she wants and is her own woman. And some people call that Jezebel. Some people call that controlling spirit. Some people think she pulled Harry away from the monarchy, but she tried the monarchy. It just didn't work out for her, and they had to leave. And Harry was concerned that Meghan was getting unwell, and he stepped out of the monarchy. You can imagine a prince stepping away from his duty, stepping away from his inheritance. If William died and William's children died, if William and his children died in a plane accident, then Harry would have been king. And so it was a big thing to step away from. So I approve of everything Harry and Meghan does because they're my children. I love them. And a lot of people post videos and write articles about them like clickbait, just to get people eyeballs. And it's not about the story. It's not about Meghan or Harry. It's about how many people click onto the advertising and the revenue that's raised from that. It's a popular thing to write something about Meghan or do a video about Meghan. It doesn't have to have a shred of truth in it. And it's a sad thing that even the modern media, not just the popular media, but podcasts and stuff and interview channels and internet channels speaking about Meghan and Harry like they're experts and just giving their opinions. And I don't care for that, but that's the world that you live in. It's all about money. Money's the god. And I've seen the reward that people sowed 30% of their income into the gospel, 30% of their income, and people that gave 50% of their income to God. There's a guy, Matthew's brother, read a book called Letourneau that had an excavating business and used to create big trucks to excavate soil. And he had a lot of inventions. Well, he ended up living on 10% of his income and giving 90% of his income to the Lord. You should see his reward in heaven. Like, he's like a king in heaven. He didn't do it to become a king in heaven. He did it because he only needed 10% of his income. He was making such a fortune. And people who make a fortune on earth and don't invest it in the kingdom, and I can understand why people don't invest in the kingdom, because they don't see anything worthwhile in the kingdom. They don't see that, they see their money as a waste of money, so people have to get excited about giving, but certainly you can see the disparity between heaven and earth. Even people in heaven, dresses and clothes are free. So you'll see people like overindulge and get so many clothes because everything's free, Matthew knows that only 10% of people that download a free book actually read the book. 9 out of 10 people just download it because it's free. And they've just got thousands of books that they haven't read because they were free. So because everything's free in heaven, people abuse that and have still got flesh in them. And it's good to see the reality of everything in heaven, see the meaning behind everything. And there's so much wisdom to be learned in heaven. It's so good to be progressing to a higher realm and getting to meet more and more saints, and meeting and conversing with people in your own realm really encourages you. And you're probably thinking what realm I'm in, and I'm in realm number 4, and
That's
so there's 7 realms in heaven. If you haven't listened to a video by me, by Matthew, so I'm halfway through growing in my intimacy, but the only truth of the universe is Jesus. Jesus is like, if you go to the center of the universe, there's a cross, yeah, and it's Jesus' cross that makes everything worthwhile.
Thank you, Princess Diana. Have you been listening to the God Conversation?
Yeah, everyone listens to every video that you produce, and everyone in heaven, Matthew's just going to eat.
Matthew, that's nice.
Every video in heaven, every video that you do, and every conversation that you do, we listen to.
Oh, well.
You're like a reality TV.
And I love watching reality shows. Those are my best things to watch. So I can't imagine myself being watched live in heaven. So I don't usually think that way.
Did you ever, Matthew doesn't know, but did you ever watch the show Keeping Up with Kardashians?
I that was the only reality show I didn't like, but I know it's a popular reality show, but I don't watch that. But
You're more popular than that show. People tune in and watch you with your kids. They can just tune in and watch your whole personal life.
oh, wow, that's so intimidating. Like I do not even want to think of that, Princess Diana. Oh my God. Matthew is used to it. I still find it difficult to Ben, how do you feel?
Matthew's been living with that for 20 years, so he's used to it.
Yeah. Oh wow. Well, you are used to it as well, Princess Diana, because you were popular when you're on her. So probably you're used to the crowd following you or watching your every step. That is new to me. Like, Ben, how do you feel watching like people watching your family? How do you feel about that?
I'm really happy because the way you deal with your children, the conversations that you have with Matthew, the saints in heaven learn so much, and there's people with their children in heaven. There's families that got young children. And the whole of family died in a plane accident or in a car accident, and so there's mothers and fathers bringing up their children in heaven, and they like to tune in, and heaven likes to see every detail. Like, you imagine if Donald Trump there was a reality show, like he was popular in The Apprentice. The Apprentice was really popular, but imagine if there was a reality show of everything Donald Trump did. Him out with his children at a fair, going to a football game, and you're just watching everything he did. Like, so many millions of people would just tune in because he's such a popular person. Or if people got to see Michael Jackson, everything that he did, him with his children, him in his personal life, so many people would tune in. Well, the people in heaven are not only listening to your interviews and listening to what you and Matthew said, they're tuning into your life and watching your life. But that's not good news for you. You're sort of worried about that, but just dismiss it. Give it to the Lord. Take it to the feet of the Lord, you know?
Yeah, that's not good news because I know John said I needed to be transparent, and I was still transcribing the video yesterday and I read that back to myself. But I still feel there's a level of transparency that I want, and there are things I wanted to keep private. So, but I guess I don't have choice in this. So I have to get used to it.
Everyone's benefits from your life.
I always think my life is very boring. I do the same thing, very regimental every day. So I'm surprised that there are things to learn in my life.
The people get to opt in. So the people that want to watch you with the children, watch you with the children. People that just want to watch your interactions with Matthew get alerted when you're going to have a conversation with Matthew. People that watch the interviews, well, the interviews are compulsory in heaven, but there's certain levels of interest. The people that really love you and Matthew watch everything you and Matthew do.
Thank you, Ben. So what have you been up to?
I've been making decisions for the earth. I've been making decisions for heaven. I've been writing some of the courses supporting the songs that we're releasing. I've been organising the prophetic schools, the prophetic teachers, the prophetic people answering the questions from the interviews. I've been given a lot of leadership abilities, and heaven started me out slow, but I'm slowly doing more and more. And heaven can expand time, so you can spend 2 hours answering emails and answering responses on like Facebook or the music program. People write responses to your songs and comments. You can sit down there in 2 hours in heaven time and have a couple of coffees or have a couple of drinks at a cafe on your computer. But it can be like 2 weeks of time that you spend. You've only spent 2 hours, but you spent 2 weeks. So you've written really good responses to everyone's reply. And so the level of the ability for depth of friendship in heaven is just amazing. You don't have the time on earth to have that depth of friendship. So the more I've done, the more responsibility I've been given, and I'm very busy. But I'm pleased to see that you listened to the Holy Spirit and you started publishing the books of the interviews, because that's just giving you a lot of work to do, and certainly taking the pressure off Matthew. And I know Matthew jokes about it, but it's true. You know, he seriously got burnt out, and it's good to keep him fresh. Yeah.
So I burnt him out, isn't it?
Just your enthusiasm. Your enthusiasm did it. You weren't aware that you're doing. Every time someone's burnt out, it's just what Satan does. You know, Satan just gets something good and wrecks a person, just burns them out. They get so much satisfaction out of what they're doing, they just do it too much and they burn out. And it's one of Satan's strategies to make you quit. Well, Matthew hasn't quit. It's just you just got to implement different strategies to keep him fresh.
Okay. So I hope I'm not doing too much then.
No, you're doing good, because you've got so many books that you can describe and edit it and fix. You know, Matthew will get his finances sorted out, and once a month he may advertise one of the books, you know, on Fiverr, and he's got to do his tax. He hasn't done his tax for about a month, and so he's got to sit down and do that, and then once he organises that, he'll start maybe advertising some of the books. But he's just waiting for the Kindle book to appear. Yeah.
Yeah, why is
Actually,
it so
he wouldn't mind reading the edited version of the book.
Okay.
He wouldn't mind seeing how profound he was.
Oh, wow.
I miss you, Tulu, and I'm one of the people that opt in to watch everything in your life. Yeah. I
miss you as well.
I multitask. Yeah. I know men can multitask in heaven.
Well, I'm surprised to hear that, but it's a good news that they can multitask because Matthew can only do one thing at a time.
He's doing the interview and eating at the same time.
He's not supposed to be eating, boys.
Yeah, I know he'd get in trouble for that.
So I'd like Emmanuel said some things in our last conversation, and I was so surprised to know that he's very, very advanced. So what is it like sitting at his feet and learning from him?
It's like traveling through a desert and lacking water and coming across a spring. And you can just sit there and cup water into your hands and drink as much as you like. He's a spring of living water. Like he just comes out with things class just gives you the ability to think you're better than people. Society is built to lie. Yeah, just keeps on coming out with things that he understands the Gospels, he understands the Bible at levels that of Thomas Kempis level. And but he can dumb it down so he can speak in my language too. Yeah. He's teaching me a lot how to steward what I have to say, how to interact with people at their level. I wasn't so used to interacting at other people's levels, and Emmanuel's teaching me, even though you can say it like this, so more people understand. So he's helping with the songwriting too. And he's a little like Jesus when Princess Diana said, Jesus can do any job. Emmanuel's like a little angel, like he's like a 15-year-old angel. He's just so gifted, and yeah, he shines. Yeah, he shines like an angel, and he's so happy that I'm here. He had a foster mother and a foster father, and they're still in his life, and they're valued in his life, and they'll always be part of his life, and he'll always be part of their life. But he's so happy he's got a daddy in heaven.
Thank you. I'm so happy you're with him as well, even though I miss you, but I've seen that it's better for you to have gone home. So now I've learned a lot about God as well. So I'm glad.
Yeah.
Matthew, have you got any question for anyone? I don't want to continue to ask questions.
Yeah, so my mother wants to say I'm really proud of you working with my son Tulu. He's very determined and hard worker, and little things like those grammar mistakes in that book really frustrated him because he's so burnt out editing, and he hasn't got the grace to do it anymore. It just caught him, and it was like the enemy was using his sickness and his mood and catching you on a bad day just to try and split you up. And you and the interviews and you publishing more books gives Matthew so much purpose. So you can be sure he's never gonna have an eruption with you and never come back. And so you can be sure if you just if you want to apologize or you want to reach out to the Holy Spirit and get Matthew to apologize, it'll always be restored you bring a lot of joy to his life, and he looks forward to producing more and more books with you, and he's so happy that you've got the hang of doing it, and you've got someone to take over Bill, because Bill's lucky he's going to make it into heaven with what he did to Matthew. He's going to realize he's a narcissist, and he's never had money. Ever since Matthew's known him, he's always been short of money. And he's supposed to be an apostle or someone in ministry, and someone in ministry shouldn't have a lot of bad luck happening to them. They should be prosperous. That's part of the promises. If you're not living in abundance and prosperity, well, there's something wrong in your life. Yeah. So I was so happy he found Bill, and he got a lot of books published, and there's a lot of paperbacks and Kindle books on Amazon because of him. But you make him so happy that you worked out the process to be able to do it. And you make me happy because you make my son happy. And I enjoy watching you. And I'm one of the ones that, while I'm doing things, preparing functions for the Queen and supervising people, I'm watching TV and watching what you're doing. And I'm one of the ones that tune into everything that you do. And it's so good that there was never any attraction from Matthew to you, that he didn't, like Satan could have destroyed it like that. And there was never any, and there never has been. And Matthew's had so much of a sex addiction all his life that that could really destroy him. And it's really made Ben's just so happy. It's like he passed on another man to look after his wife. And you don't have to worry about Matthew leaving. You'll be prepared for that. And Matthew's got a bit longer than you think. Satan's just trying to consistently take him out. And Matthew's days are written in the Lord's book, and he's not going to disappear until those days have been accomplished.
Thank you, John. That's really, really helpful. And it keeps me at ease because I wasn't prepared when Ben left. So for some reason, I'm always anxious that whatever, if Matthew just disappears as well. So, but I will be more relaxed and just trust that heaven has got all that in control. And it makes me happy as well. So every time he's in the hospital, or if we've not spoken for a few days, I always feel it really, really hard. But I love him, as a friend. So our friendship has really blossomed together because it's just been about the work of God and having fun in the process as well. So thank you, John, for everything, for always encouraging him as well. Because I know that a lot of times when he struggles to do something, and you, especially the God interview that Matthew was a little bit anxious about, and you were able to tell him, don't worry, because I know what he's doing is not really easy. It's a big task to be able to carry the voice of the saints, or voice of Jesus, God, or the Spirit, or anyone in heaven. And each time Matthew says, Tolu, you're going to do it. So I said, no way am I doing that. It's really, really stressful thing to do. So I appreciate what Matthew brings to the table, and appreciate his discipline as well. And even when he's not feeling well, and he still wants to work for God. So it's really, really been a good thing for me to be able to see someone like him and work together. So thank you. And thank you for the love you're pouring on Ben and Emmanuel as well, because I know Ben needed someone like Mom in his life. This is something that he lacked all his life. So having a mother figure in his life is something that I know he truly appreciates. And I remember him saying he would take that over any reward that he's got in heaven. So thank you, June. I really appreciate you.
I really,
And
appreciate your son, and it's dear. Swapping him out for Rodney was an easy thing after we watched what Rodney did to Matthew, and he can be forgiven and brought into heaven if he chooses, but he'll never see us, and he'll never see Matthew. He'll be banished. It'd be like he's in the outer darkness himself. Yeah, he may just go to paradise outside the gates, and there's an earth-like a place outside the gates of heaven, and you're not in heaven. He may go there, and but I've got a really passionate son, and Ben is really intense, and it was a big thing of Ben to allow Bob to listen to the songs and edit the songs and give constructive feedback on the songs. And Ben really appreciates, he's really appreciated Bob, and they've really grown close. So I just love anyone that loves Matthew, you know, and I'm so privileged to be like a mother figure to someone who's so important in heaven. And Matthew promised me, he said, when you get to heaven, you're going to be really popular. And I thought that was just delusion of Matthew. And I'm so popular in heaven, but I just grew up being humble. So I just agree with Jesus that if you want to be great, just be the greatest server, you know, be the one that serves the most. And it's so good to mix at this dinner table with the Apostle Paul and Peter, and I can choose. I can just be thinking. Honestly, I can just be thinking about a disciple or someone from the Bible, and they'll turn up. I can just be thinking, I wonder how Moses felt seeing God's shadow, and then Moses will turn up. He said it was pretty awesome, you know? And that's the level of love that God has for me. And so I watch Matthew struggle, and I watch him in hospital, and he adjusts, and then he thought he was going to stay another 2 days, and then they told him today that he's well enough to go, and he got surprised, and he's back into work again, you know, come back, did 4 prophecies. Now he's doing interview. And so he's God's robot. Yeah. And I've told him lots of times that he's a machine. Yeah. And he's impressed with you because you're even more of a machine. And
well,
there's not many people that are more of a machine than him.
well, Jesus made me into this machine because it was really tough for me for so many years. So it prepared me for this.
Yeah.
And
well, there's 4 parable books online now from Matthew.
yeah.
And you'll find the narrow gate is the message Matthew preaches, and all the saints preach. And coming out of the world, leaving the world behind, leaving covetousness behind, and obeying Jesus is his message. And you've not only been bringing the message, you've been conforming to the message. I'm really pleased. I want to say I'm really pleased that you girls went out yesterday and had some fun, and it cost you money. Sometimes Matthew breaks through with some of his advice, and you're not equipped to do that yourself. and you'll have more fun transcribing John Lennon than taking your girls out. But the girls certainly enjoy it, and it probably gave you good feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. That was what Ben used to do. Probably, like, I've never enjoyed doing things like that. I try to put my mind in things like that too, but it's so difficult for me to just do those things.
Someone wrote Matthew a letter last week. He didn't tell you about it, but he's going to mention it now. That you interview so many saints. Can you teach people how to talk to saints and communicate with saints? And
Wow.
so that would be a book that you could put 40 questions together. Matthew can't think how he'd teach it, but if you had 40 questions about it, he'd be able to answer the questions. Yeah.
Okay, I will into
So he
that.
gave himself up giving you that because it's just another book, but you do most of the work preparing the questions, and you and Bethany. Yeah.
Yeah, he just needs to answer the question. That's what he needs to do,
I
which I
think
think is
Sadhu Sundar Singh was just preaching my message. I don't think I was preaching a 40-year-old message. I think he's just preaching my message.
You think so? I think that's what is in his books. I've read his books. There's quite a lot of similarities
Right.
in what he said. And it's so similar to Jesus, listening and going back to what he said, that the messages are similar to what Jesus has been preaching as well. So that's really good to find that similarity.
Yeah. So I really appreciate you, Tulu, and Bob really loves you. He loves that you keep Matthew busy. Like, just broke Matthew's heart when he thought that books would be finished, and he accepted it. He didn't moan. He didn't make a big deal of it. And then you started doing interviews, and then he's still saying there's not many people on earth listening to these interviews. Then he started to adjust to bring revival to heaven, but there was still this yearning in him to do books. And then you came out with this magical idea, why don't we make books of the videos? And he said, yes, so now you're talking.
He likes books, isn't it? Well, when you put it in print, it's much better. I'm doing this as well for my children, so that as they grow up, they will be able to have those books to read and teach them what it is to serve God. I don't want them to have to unlearn a lot of religious things that I'm having to unlearn. I want them to grow up in the right way. So hopefully they will enjoy reading this book as well in future.
Yeah. So you got any questions for anyone at the table, Tulu?
Yeah, I've got a question. I wanted to say, Emmanuel, I'm still impressed by a lot of things that you said in our last conversation, and I went back listening to them. Have you got more messages? Because you tend to give me good advices, which I do like. So have you got anything to say to Mommy or to Matthew?
I just want to tell you, Mum, that you're doing a good job, and someone who excels in basketball doesn't get every shot in, and there's got to be a lot of training to be fit, and there's got to be a lot of work outside of the court to be fit for the court. And so the process of these interviews, the more you do them, the better you're becoming more relaxed, and you're becoming more fit and spiritually fit. So in the midst of an interview, you can ask 3 more questions and be inspired more by Bethany or the Holy Spirit to ask more questions. So you get better and better. And now that you have an understanding that some of the interviews are going to become books, your questions can be more focused on touching people on earth with something that they can remember, and asking a question about something that you want to know in the midst of the questions that you had for the saint. And so I'm proud of you. You're doing a good job, and don't beat yourself up at your shortfalls. You know, we see all your shortfalls, and we love you anyway.
Thank you. I love you as well. And thank you for the encouragement. That goes a long way as well for me. So that is you're really happy having him around. What makes you happy living with Daddy? What is the thing that you like about him?
I like spending time with Michael Jackson with Daddy, and Michael's teaching me the bass guitar, and I'm playing bass on some of the tracks, and he's shown me the mixing desk, and he's allowed me to mix a song or two myself, and Michael's and me have become really close, you know, and because of my youth, he really loves me, and I'm only 15 in heaven. I'm not 30 in heaven or whatever, so I'm young, and I've become like an adopted child for Michael. But I never, I knew of Michael, I knew about Michael in heaven, but I'd never met him. And I met him when your dad came to heaven. When Dad came to heaven, and I had no idea that Dad was going to have that job, and it's like it answered my secret wish. And God always knows your secret wishes. I wanted to play instruments, and I wanted to have sound engineering experience, and there's certain wishes that I had, and Michael's doing them all and asked me what I want to do, and did I want to mix sound, and do I want to play an instrument, and they're just questions of Michael, and I said, of course, you know. So if I had my way, I'd play every instrument, and I'd compose songs, I'd sing songs, I'd be another Michael Jackson. And so Dad is always in the studio at Michael's place or in the studio at Matthew's place, and we're doing music so much together. He lets me sit in on prophetic councils and the prophetic teaching that he does, and I even weigh in and say things, and yeah, so there's so many things that we do. We go out to restaurants together, we eat together, we meet Michael Jackson's fans together, and meet other musicians, other heroes of mine in heaven. We're meeting through Ben and Michael. Everyone in heaven, the effect that Michael and Ben have had recently, and John, everyone wants to meet them. All the saints, all the people out of the Bible want to meet the trio because they've transformed heaven. And so we're going out for dinner and sitting at tables with the trio, like John, Michael, and Ben, and myself. And Moses is asking questions of the four, David or King David, or so I'm meeting all the heroes of the faith that I knew of that I hadn't met through them, and that the conversations are recorded, and the trio implement the ideas and implement the suggestions, and heaven is just, no one's climbing over each other in heaven. No one's trying to compete with each other in heaven in a bad way. They're competing in such a beautiful way. Like musicians help each other write lyrics and stuff. And there's a number of Bens that have risen up in heaven doing the same thing as Ben, becoming producers, having the courage to edit people's songs and make people better musicians. Some musicians are realizing that they'd be a better producer than they are an artist, and starting to work with other artists and improving their music. The heaven's just getting better and better, and it's such a remarkable thing. Michael said to Matthew, and Matthew was struggling to sleep one day, that Matthew become the Messiah of heaven. And it really is, he's really come at the fullness of time. You might wonder, how did heaven struggle and get progressively worse over 2,000 years? And why would that happen? Because it just needed a fresh start. Someone had to bring the message of earth to heaven and say, this is why earth is struggling and these are the reasons. And you need to transform yourself so that you can help earth. And heaven's responding.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Have you got any message for your sisters? They're always asking about you.
One for the oldest one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you say their names, Mum. So I've got a message for her that she really is going to be a good mother, and I watch her and I see how she organizes her younger sisters and gives them things to do and talks to them and teaches them things, and you're going to be an extraordinary mother. The second one, Alicia.
Yeah, Alicia.
She's really sensitive and kind, and she wants to focus on being kind and doing kind things to people and being kind to her classmates and being kind to people. It's one of the best things that she can do, and keep on being kind. And one day people will ask you about Jesus and want to know about Jesus because you're being so kind to them.
And Ilana, Matthew's favorite friend.
Yeah. So Alana, I want you to know that there's going to be no regret, and there's going to be no disappointment in the amount of time you spend chasing God and trying to work out God and work out what Jesus taught and work out the Bible. You're never going to reach a stage where you say, I wasted my time. So do your best to understand what Jesus taught and what he did in the Bible. And Alicia, one day you'll be as kind as Jesus and people will think you are Jesus. And Aurora, one day you'll be a mother like Jesus' mother. And you'll not only mother your own children, but you'll be a good mother for other people's children.
Thank you, Emmanuel. I'm sure they will really be happy to hear that when I convey that back to them. Thank you so much. John, how do you feel now I'm working on your book? Are you happy?
I'm humbled. I'm humbled. It would be it would be really good if it was discovered somehow, but yeah, perhaps you can you put Christian you put Christian Book Publishing USA as the publishing that's the name Matthew made up. You could get that registered as a .com and make a .com with Christian Book Publishing, and then run all your books off there and have samples of your books and messages on there, ways to contact and bios of you and how you can work with authors and work with messages. And you don't have to take notes because you can just transcribe this. Then you can do advertising with Candace Owens or whatever, and her promote one of the books and tell people, if you want to know more about the books, go to christianbookpublishing.com, and she can have that link in her description tag underneath her video, And you could have set up a trolley thing saying Christian Book Publishing / Candace for 20% off any product on that website, and you can have the books, paperbacks, signed copies of the paperbacks on sale there. They're sort of things you can do in the future, in a year or 2 years' time. And under that promotion, you could use my short book as a promotion on one of the advertisements that John Lennon spoke from heaven. That's what he had to say. Yeah, but that's all work. You like doing work, and you know how to create a good website and a shopping cart and stuff. This all beyond Matthew's. Matthew knows what it is, but he'd have no idea how to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll make sure the website has got a good CMS, content management system. So we could probably upload the book for free for people there. They
Yeah.
can access it for free. We don't need to sell it to them. They can just have it. So,
Yeah.
and Matthew has got a similar website. His website has got lots of books as well. So we'll do something similar. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be
I
probably.
actually got the message today not to put the modern books on that old website that he put together. He
Okay.
got told that Toulouse books are going to go somewhere else. So it's probably on that new website.
Yeah, okay. We'll work on that as well for someone to be building the website for us. We could be doing it in parallel. I don't need to do it. I just need to find someone to build the site.
Yeah.
We uploading the book one by one,
Yeah.
and I can support whoever is doing the job.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's sort of messages that that I had for you that I need to talk. Is that Alana?
No, it's Eliora, my
Alana.
oldest daughter. Yeah.
Yeah. Are
Okay.
they home today?
Yeah, they are. They've got a week half term or midterm, so they are home this week.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you can do promotions with like podcasters in the future, and have all their audience of, 500,000 people watch a video, and in the middle of the video is an ad.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a good idea you've given us, John. I never thought of the Christian book publishing. So that's because Matthew did suggest narrow way before.
Yeah.
But okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And you can also you can have you can just hire someone to do Bill's job for them
Okay.
to oversee people getting their books published.
Okay.
So you can just have someone organize the person, write the manuscript and send it to the editor and stuff. Just do a Bill's job, publish someone's paperback, the Kindle book and the audio book, and you can just have a set price, really cheap, cheaper than everyone. And the title Christian Book Publishing USA means that if they type in Christian Book Publishing, you can do SEO on it. So people who want to publish their own books will find that site,
Thank you. That's really good. Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Have you got a question for John?
So no, I'm just enjoying your questions. So
You're enjoying my questions?
yeah.
Oh, I've got some more personal questions that I will ask Jesus. Jesus, looking back now, I'm thinking, why were you really tough on me? Because I felt Ben had a lot of leeway. Ben used to get away with a lot of things, and I was always the one that has to carry the fault all the time. So why were you really tough?
Wait a sec. I've got to close Facebook. So why was I tough on you?
Yeah.
To mold you into being the kingmaker that you became. Ben couldn't have been everything that arrived in heaven if it wasn't for you, that you were the kingmaker that made him into who he was. So we needed your support, just like Moses could hold his hands up and Israelites win the battle, but when his arms got tired, someone else had to hold his hands up, and you held Ben's hands up, and you hold Matthew's hands up, and so you're a kingmaker. And it's interesting, Matthew saw that in the selfish, unselfish thing that uh, about 60-40, 60% selfish, 40% unselfish was like a kingmaker. And you had to be the kingmaker. So I had to be tough on you to get Benjamin so prepared for the role he has in heaven. So now you are who you became through all that toughness, and now you're being able to produce what is needed to be produced, you know?
Yeah. Thank you, Jesus. I wanted to ask you something, Jesus. You know, currently, Christians like celebrating Halloween. What are your thoughts around that? Is this something that you're okay
Non-Christians
with?
can do what they like.
Christians?
Non-Christians can do what they like, and Christians, if they can form a kind of outreach to other people and use a pagan sort of witchcraft sort of celebration day, that's fine with me. Like all sin was forgiven at the cross, and people make such a big deal of sin. There's certain Christians that would make a big deal of Christians participating in Halloween, but it's Christians accepting that person's way of life, and Christians can do like a remarkable job in Halloween in costumes and visiting houses and doing trick or treats and giving positive messages to people, and just like Christians can go to psychic fairs and do spiritual readings and do prophecies and dream interpretation for people. That's once again entering the devil's arena and doing something good. I'm not near as religious as many people are.
Thank you, Jesus. That changed my perspective again about a lot of things. I wanted to ask you like about depression. Depression is something that a lot of people suffer. But I remember when Ben was here and used to tell me that Ben is depressed. I didn't believe it's possible for a child of God to be depressed, or you can pray over yourself, then you can come out of depression. What do you want children of God to see about depression? How should we handle depression?
Depression sort of pushes you away from everyone. Matthew was in a depression for months. And one day, Mary Magdalene and Martha came down from heaven and did hopscotch in front of him, and they're jumping through squares and coming back and jumping through, and Matthew was just standing there, and they were laughing, and Matthew was hysterically laughing. That laughing broke him out of a 3-month depression. It broke the depression off him, and so Matthew realized that the depression was demonic. And one time Matthew was sitting at his computer in his kitchen, near his kitchen, and a whole lot of saints came and visited him. And he was still on his computer, and the saints were just sitting there. And he posted it saying that a whole lot of saints and person said they're demons. And Matthew said back to him, well, they're pretty impressive demons because they've had a depression for months and the depression has lifted. So the saints had brought glory down and lifted Matthew's depression. The Pentecostal church have got like a really skewed. It's a message that Matthew almost has anger over him. Whenever Matthew goes to hospital, people pray healing, but they want Matthew's heart to be fully restored. Well, that would be like a big miracle. That's not just a normal prayer, and you just can't activate that with normal faith and be a normal Christian. You've got to have like a real gift. And so many Christians and Christian doctrine places the responsibility on the person who's sick to get enough faith to be healed. And faith is like a miraculous thing, like healing's a miraculous thing. And people are guilted. They're not only depressed, but they're made to feel guilty for being depressed, that they haven't got enough faith. And depression can come from repressed anger. Matthew found out that if you don't deal with your anger in the right way, you can get depressed. I can speak on depression because I've been depressed in heaven and upset with the world. So it's a response to stimuli. It's a natural bodily response to bad things, but it can be demonic too. So if you suffer from depression, it can be demonic or it can be from other factors. And if you need to seek medication from doctors to get out of your depression or cope with it, I recommend that over suicide.
Thank you, Jesus, because I felt for a long time I didn't believe a Christian can be depressed. So even when you told me Ben was depressed, I found it difficult to believe.
Yeah, well, how do you find it difficult that I could be depressed?
Yeah, when I heard for the first time that God is depressed, it was like, what? How is that possible? So yes, there's quite a lot of things that I find difficult to believe in the conversations we have with saints, or especially what God has been saying in the past few weeks. Is there are things that I've never heard of and I never expected to hear of that. So it's very controversial. Yeah, so I find it difficult to believe that Jesus is depressed. And when Ben said Jesus laughed, it was like, I've never seen Jesus laugh. I'm like, really? I thought Jesus was happy in heaven, excited, and is having the fun of his life, and we are the ones miserable here. So yes, I was surprised that you were depressed, Jesus.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
it's the fact that Christians can experience any sort of sickness or disease or ailment, and it's not their lack of faith that allows it. It's just conditions on earth.
Okay. I wish we know this and we see it in this light, and maybe a lot of Christians will be able to get the right help.
Well,
Because
so many Christians are sick and suffer, but they're made to feel guilty for being sick and suffering.
yeah.
So Matthew cops a lot of flack for being bipolar, but Matthew sees Hosea 7, dark times are here. The prophet is called a fool and the inspired man a maniac. Maniac is the word for a manic depressive or bipolar that's high, that's out of control. So Hosea the prophet was saying, when you're inspired, when you're hearing from God or saints or angels, you're said to be a maniac. You're said to be mentally ill. You're meant to be insane. The NIV said the prophet is a fool, the inspired man insane. So Matthew's copped a lot of flack until we led him to that verse, and he found healing in that verse, saying, well, if he's being a proper inspired prophet, he's got to present mentally ill.
Thank you, Jesus. I wanted to ask June, with your experience of bringing Matthew up, what encouragement have you got for parents that probably raising children that they don't understand, maybe because they've got mental illness or they're disabled, or they're living a Christian life that is way advanced that the parents do not understand? What encouragement can you give them?
I just, you know, There's a song called Standing, Standing, Standing on the promise of Christ my Savior, standing, standing, standing on the promises of God. You got to stand on the promises. You got to believe the promises in the Bible over your situation. The promises of the Bible is truth. The promises in the Bible are truth. You got to hang on to all things work together for good for those who love God according to his purpose. Did Matthew love God? Yes. Did Matthew have a purpose? Yes. Was he mentally ill? Yes. But all things work together for good. And you have to believe that promise over what's happening, that he thinks he's a last days prophet and he's deluded for 16 years. You got to believe that what I began a good work in a person, I'll accomplish. You've got to believe the promises and stand on the promises, because life is tough and life is unfair and life is troublesome. But the promises stand true, and you've got to believe in them. And Matthew's life has worked out to be extraordinary, and it would be really good, if someone like Candace Owens really started to like the advertisements and really liked the books and got behind it, like that app Hello or whatever, that's always getting promoted, and that Hello gets promoted on podcasts all the time, and they must have like a huge advertising budget, and it'll be really interesting if the book's got more traction, and even just having 1,000 people, doesn't have to be 1,000,000, but have 1,000 people download the Parables book, would be really good, because the meat that's in the word. Matthew's been preaching that meat for years, so he's developed into something that's got a lot of potential.
Thank you. Prince Philip, you wanted to say something at the beginning, that it's not easy having a wife that is ruling heaven. Can you expatiate on that?
So she's running the admin side of heaven. She's running the celebrations and the official meetings and stuff. She's doing like a queen's job in heaven. The Prime Minister of England controls the politics and economy of England, but the Queen oversees and has like an overriding authority. So the Queen of Heaven, the Queen in heaven, has this authority and runs a lot of things, but the people answer to Mary Magdalene. Yeah.
Thank you. And how do you feel?
How do I feel? I feel really good about that, because I've always loved my wife, and she gives me plenty of opportunity to speak, and I like to speak, and I get a lot of opportunity to study. I like to study, and I like to speak to professors and people with a lot of knowledge, and I really enjoy hoity-toity sort of conversation with people and the upper echelons of heaven, and her position gives me access to the greatest minds in heaven, and has the ability to speak to them because of her position in heaven, grants me the access, and so I'm as happy as a pig in mud, and yeah, not to be confused with the people who were saved and went back into the sin of the world and become like a pig returning to its mud. Not to be confused with that verse, but I'm happy as a pig in mud, and her position gives me a lot of luxury in heaven.
You deserve it, because you really served the Queen on earth. You really loved him. It was quite clear. People can easily see that in you. So you deserve to still have that joy, happiness, and to still be in this position because you're a really good husband to the queen. I could say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And I really love her dearly now, and she's doing a wonderful job. And she's got her plans set on ascending to Mary's job, and so we her position may be getting given up soon, but that hasn't happened yet. But yeah, she'll be going from a position there to possibly ruling the saints in heaven, and so it's exciting times. All your daughters have been coming out. I noticed. I've been watching.
yeah, they are home today. They are home this week. So we've got halftime.
Did they ask your permission if they can come in the room?
Yes, they usually stand there, then I wave my hands to say, you can go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real
Yeah,
treat for the people to see your daughters. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I can always bring them on one day. They might have questions for people
Yeah.
in heaven, especially
Yeah.
Ilana.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Prince Philip. So have you got any advice or anything to say to me and Matthew?
Christian Book Publishing USA. Bethany gave that title.
Okay.
And if you could get that domain .com and present a book publishing site where you'll help people publish their books at a low price and have a catalogue of books published by Christian Book Publishing USA, and have all your books there, and have the Kindle book free, the audio, the the digital book free. They can get a PDF or read like a Kindle. Give them like a Kindle file that they can download a Kindle file and export into the Kindle, or they can read it on the website, like Matthew's website. They can just read it on the website. So have the paperback at a certain price and a signed paperback at another price, like $2 more expensive or whatever, and then run the promotions on run promotions where if they say Candace, they can get 20% off all orders. It takes them a while, but you can teach one of your daughters to ship and things, and all you'd have to do is like sign 10 books a week or whatever, and you say signed by one author, signed by Toulouse, so it won't have both authors on it. But do that for the name of other Christian authors that are getting ripped off by people like Bill, and other people charge like $1,500 or $6,000 to produce a person's book, and you found that it's pretty cheap, and so it would just, you'd basically just be paying a person to do the whole job for a person, and they may charge $300, £300, and you may charge the whole service £600. They do it, but you get £300 for having the booking done by you. Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
understand? Like someone who does what your uploading guy does and your
Yeah,
editing guy does, someone who oversees everything that you're overseeing, but you just double the price. You cost you 300 and you charge 600. So a new author could spend $600 and get the book published,
I got what you're saying now. Yeah, it's clearer now. Thank you. That's a good suggestion. Matthew is not going to do anything anyway.
Yeah.
So, already sign out.
You can think of another title, but Matthew read that on the book publisher, Christian Book Publishing USA Today, and that's when it came to him. Perhaps you could make a website with that title,
If the name is still available, hopefully. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I know Paul is there. Hello, Paul.
Hello.
It seems as if Matthew's voice changed immediately. Paul spoke. It's like a voice of
Matthew
authority.
doesn't realize that. Matthew's going to go to the toilet and get another drink, and then
Okay,
think of your question for Matthew.
okay.
Okay.
That was quick, Matthew.
Yeah. Matthew's quick. It's still Paul.
Still Paul. Did you say Paul?
Still Paul speaking.
Okay, still Paul speaking. Yeah, yeah. So when you took over Matthew's voice, there was a sense of authority there. The voice changed.
Wow.
It means you still carry the power you carried on heart, that voice of authority. Yeah. So I wanted to say you lived a very sacrificial life when you were here on earth serving God, and watching Matthew's life. What encouragement can you give him? Like through the sufferings that going in and out of hospital, that sometimes he's tired, he feels suicidal sometimes as well, due to what he's experiencing. How can you encourage Matthew based
Uh,
on your experience on that?
him hearing that setting up like a publishing company, someone had prophesied that he's going to be a book publisher and a music publisher, and he's just never had that come to fruition. And hearing the saints speak that, and you be able to handle thinking that and how you do that, and that just makes Matthew happy. Matthew just, Matthew was getting a sore back before he went to hospital. That's why he was laying down when he did that video, because his back was just so sore. And since he's been back from hospital, his back was sore when he's out at the shops, but his back hasn't been sore tonight. And it's like the sore back was an attack. And so Matthew just persists, When his back got sore, he just said, well, he'll get an extension lead and lie in bed and do everything he needs to do. And even if he just goes out once a week shopping and lies in bed and does his computer from his bedside, I can still handle it. No matter what happens with Matthew, he keeps on persisting. And I just, Matthew had a favorite song when he was growing up. All to Jesus, I surrender all. And it's all about that daily surrender. It's about surrendering, and Matthew understands that message. And he brings a very clear and concise message through his books. And honestly, it would be really good to have a catalogue of books that you've produced with a consistent Narrowgate message. Matthew can get things wrong, and Narrowgate Publishing might be all right for you, but for Matthew's books, but it's not good for every other person's Christian book. You know, there's Christian books about all sorts of things. But Christian Book Publishing USA, they're basically the only question you'd be able to get, and you'd be able to answer that with one line on your website. We publish books from all sorts of countries. It doesn't just have to be published in the USA, but the US market is the biggest market for books. Yeah. So I want to share with Matthew that I'm really proud of you. Keep working, keep your nose to the grindstone, keep on pushing. And the enemy is furious about what you're doing. He's especially furious of what you're doing in heaven, and he's recognizing the transformation of people on earth are being affected by the people of heaven, and even the whole prayers of heaven have changed for the people on earth, and people are hearing things in the spirit and changing behaviors based on what their relatives are saying from heaven. So it's a big transformation happening. And did you know Matthew recited a book from me?
I'm not sure. I've not seen that. No.
Yeah. He forgot until he was checking out his books today. He realised that I dictated the book. Do you know David Wilkinson wrote a book through Matthew?
David Wilkinson?
Yeah. Have you heard of him before?
No.
And did you know Gabriel preached a book through Matthew?
Gabriel. Do you mean Angel Gabriel?
The Archangel.
Yes, he's mentioned that here.
Yeah.
He's written a lot of books. Yeah, I did an interview with you, isn't it, Paul, about two part one, part two parts video.
Right.
I think we've spoken to you, myself and Matthew. We're going to turn that into book as well. Any interview is going to be turned into book. So I've got work till eternity.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. Matthew, you ask a question now. Ask Daddy a question.
So, Dad, what do you think of setting up that company, Christian Book Publishing USA? Well, that's a dream of yours, Matthew. And not only do you want to get a really classy looking website, and you could even have personal prophecy requests as one of the menu bars, like prophetic services on that website. So it would be a popular website too. But not only have you wanted to have a good website that people could get your books for free, but you've always wanted to be able to give people signed paperbacks. So that idea is really, really heavenly, and it's good to see it through a combination of what Tolu did, and you can easily get your logo guy to do a logo, Christian Book Publishing, on the back of the books. Yeah. But I'm really pleased and encouraged with you. And like Paul said, keep your nose to the grindstone and keep on pushing things out, and keep on being motivated, and relax when you need to relax, and work when you need to work, and keep on listening to Tolu. She's the boss.
Do you think I'm doing a good job, Daddy, being the boss?
Yeah, you are doing a good job, and it's really not you, the boss. It's really Bethany, running the show. Often Tulu's suggestions come from Bethany, and so we understand what role she plays. She's like a little princess, and she's seated at this table too. You miss her out.
Oh.
She's seated at this table. She's got her wings drawn in, and she's sitting there like a pretty little princess. And she's more pretty than Princess Diana. And she's a good little daughter-in-law. You know, we really love her. It's our choice. It's our choice that she would be your wife, Matthew. And yeah.
Yeah. So Bethany, you're the one in charge. You're the one giving me a lot of work to do.
Yeah, well, you got to do something, you know. Like, think of it this way. Think of it this way. If your 710-page book affected 10 people, totally changed their life. They started to totally transform their Christian life. And they read it 10 times because you can't just get the message in one reading. They read it 10 times and totally transformed their life. Would that be worth spending 20 years publishing books just to change 10 people's lives forever? And
Yes.
now you've made author central, people can follow you as an author. So every time, if someone really likes you, they follow you. Every time you put a book out, they read it. Matthew used to notice there was like 50 to 100 people would download his book in the first 6 weeks because they were all the people following his books. So as you build up followers, you'll increase that 10 people that you're transforming their lives. Matthew's come across another thing. People who've read all his books, they've certainly learned, but they need to be applying those books. They need to change. And the Saints interviews have been good for you to do, and they're good for people to watch, and it's certainly good for the people of heaven. But the good thing about those interviews is they've been changing you, Tulu. We've seen you transform. We've seen you become less religious. We've seen you become more giving. We've seen you exercise your time more wisely. We've seen you become more fulfilled. We've seen you find your purpose. And so we not only want to produce books for people and videos for people, we want to transform them. We want to be used as a catalyst in their life. This person before they met Tulu, and then after they met Tulu, and she's like a liquid. You add to it and it changes the substance. And do you know what a catalyst is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want you and your books to be a catalyst for change in people's lives. And if you got to heaven and 10 people had become like Matthew because of your influence, that's enough. That's Matthew times 10. Or if you produce 10 Benjamins with what you've done, that's more than enough. You only produced one before he died, but make an aim to produce 10 and write towards that and have inspired ideas like, how do I make a interview with these saints to transform them into Jesus? Yeah. And I heaven was going to give me awards, but they're going to continue to award me, you know. And I get awards every time you produce a book. Every time a book goes live, I get an award.
Is it when it goes live or when it's uploaded? Because you have the copy already, isn't it?
That's a good question. It's when it goes live for the world.
Okay, so we're both waiting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bethany. It's nice.
I really love you, Tulu. You really listen to me really well. Yeah, I really like working with you. I don't get much pushback from you. Yeah. You seem to carry my voice really well. Yeah.
Thank you.
We work really well together.
Thank you. Michael, you've not spoken today.
No, this interview is going on for a while. Oh, we've got at least an apostle in South Africa that's listening.
Yeah, we need to speak to his life as well.
And Tulu was referring to Michael Jackson, so this is Michael Jackson speaking. Matthew was realizing today that so many people idolize me, and I don't like that from this position I have in heaven. I don't like people idolizing me, and that's what makes Matthew different, that he just accepts me as a person. The closest Matthew came to idolizing anyone was Donald Trump. Yeah. And Billy Joel was someone that he was too intimidated to meet. He could have met Billy Joel twice. He got invited to go out for dinner with Billy Joel twice, and he was too nervous to go to accept the invitation. But people idolize me, and I don't really like it.
I guess you've got no choice, Michael. Because
No,
you're very...
I certainly enjoy working with Emmanuel and meeting real people. Yeah. I really enjoy Emmanuel. It's
really
like
enjoy.
Benjamin has given you to Matthew as like a wife-like sort of relationship, and Emmanuel's been given to me like a son by Benjamin. Benjamin's very good at sharing. He's very good at giving.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, something new of his.
Yeah, it gave me lots of love, so I can agree to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's good. It's good that you're enjoying Emmanuel's company, and I could see he's enjoying being with you as well.
Yeah. Emmanuel
So
knows me. Emmanuel's very deep, and he knows me via my lyrics, and he knows my relationship through my lyrics, and he reads me through my lyrics, and he's becoming a musician. He's understanding my music, but he's understanding more my lyrics, and he's even started to write lyrics with his father, and because he's got a greater understanding than his father, and that's really hard for you to comprehend, because Ben was really knowledgeable. But I really enjoy having them here. It's hard for people to understand that my life in heaven wasn't near as enjoyable as it is now with Ben and Emmanuel, and drawing close to John, and all of this happened because of Matthew, and all of this happened because I died. Ben died. So heaven is amazing, and I am so happy with what we're getting up. Christian Book Publishing USA is just lights Matthew up, and it doesn't matter if you can get it .com. You can whatever you get it, you can go and edit the book publisher name. You can go and edit. You could have christianbookpublishing.com as the publisher. So when people read your book, they see .com, and they go to the .com, and you want to publish a book, you know? Because Matthew done that for years when he was self-publishing, or he'd done it for a while. Every book that he read, he looked at who the publisher was, and I wondered whether he could get his book published by that publisher. Yeah. So
I never knew he had this dream. It's never mentioned it, so that was
so many false prophecies over Matthew's life.
so we're going to discuss it later on between me and him, how he wants it to be done. Then I will just take action because he's my
You just
master.
need Bethany. You need just Bethany to give you ideas how to flesh it out.
Yeah.
But you want to make
Yeah.
it cheap. You want to make a cheap editing price and a more expensive editing price. So you can use Matthew's old publisher at 10 cents an American per word editing, or you can have like 1 cent per American per word. And people can choose what standard of editing they want in their books. But they've got any book of ours to download on Kindle to see how many mistakes are. And I say, well, I'll have that form of editing. That's pretty good.
Michael, it's so funny. Everyone is funny in heaven for some reason. I think because heaven is a happy place, so it can really be funny. I've got John, do you have a title in mind for your book?
All You Need Is Love by John Lennon.
That's good. Okay, we're gonna call it like that. All You Need Is Love.
Did you write that down?
Yeah. I'm gonna listen to the recording back, but I've written that down.
All You Need Is Love, subtitled John Lennon Speaks from Heaven.
Okay. That's nice. Thank you, John. So Matthew is going to do your back cover. He's going to give it to the guy to do the back cover.
Well,
So
I don't really do the back covers. Bethany dictates them to me.
Okay. Okay, that's good then. Thank you, John. That's a nice title. Do you speak to Emmanuel as well, John?
Yeah, I do. He's a delightful child. Yeah.
Thank you.
I wish I had as much time with Julian, my son, as I spend with Emmanuel.
Your son is still on heart, isn't it?
Yeah. He's a musician too.
Oh, that's good. Follow daddy's footsteps. I've got a question for Queen. What is it like being an helot on earth and in heaven?
What's it like to what? A question for who?
Queen.
Yeah.
What is it like to be an elite in heaven and on earth? ELITE, elite.
It's nothing like heaven. Heaven is nothing like earth. I was born into privilege on earth, and I was born into an elite family, and I understood my position in society as the best and the top and stuff. But when I got to heaven, there's no way. Like, I even asked an evangelist that Matthew met on earth whether what I needed to do to get to heaven. I was concerned at one time that I had too much wealth and wanted to give more of my wealth away if it was going to stop me from getting into heaven. On earth, I felt privileged, but in heaven, I was totally shocked that I was promoted to this place. It didn't come through privilege. It didn't come through genetics. It didn't come through getting passed down from society. It came from the work that I did on earth. And when you really look into it, and I want you to listen to this apostle from South Africa, reward in heaven is based on how well you did the job that you're assigned to do on earth. It's how well you did that job. And if that's just an apostle to 100 people, and that's bringing up a family of God under your leadership, or providing for a certain amount of widows and orphans, and managing a church, whatever that job is, if you steward that well and you do that well, you'll get a good reward in heaven. So I didn't have any understanding of rewards in heaven, but I did my job so well on earth that I got promoted to be part of the elite in heaven. And I really deserved this job, but it's so humbling because you don't think you deserve it. And you got to ask, how am I going to go into Mary Magdalene's throne when there's so many saints like Paul and Peter and Enoch and Elijah and so many, but not many people are after leadership positions, and they're happy doing what they're doing. And just as Mary Magdalene was a whore, but she got promoted to the highest place in heaven, the Queen of England myself can get promoted to the highest place in heaven. And it's very humbling. Heaven is very humbling.
Thank you, Queen. I'm not surprised that you're where you are, because just like what you said, you deserve it. I believe you deserve it as well, because looking at your life through watching The Crown right from the beginning, and what I've seen in my 19 years plus of living in this country, is that you were really, really loyal to God. You really, really respected the crown, and the crown was you serving God. And you always put the crown above everything, even your family, you put the crown above them always. So I agree that you serve God to the best of your knowledge, and I am happy that you're where you are. I was surprised to hear that you were pondering about what is the best way to get to heaven, that you had so much wealth. I never knew that you knew about God in that way. I know you go to church on Sundays and all of you practice those religious activities, but I felt maybe God is not really active. God is not something that people carry anymore in UK. People just go to church for the sake of going to church, but they don't serve God the way they're supposed to serve God. So I'm glad that you were thinking about your eternity. What made you to think about your eternity when you were on earth?
I certainly asked that question because I saw Jesus said it's harder for a rich man to go to heaven than a camel to pass through the eye of a needle. And no matter how you interpret that, if you call that the needle gate in Jerusalem, that a camel had to be totally unloaded to be put under that gate, and then you had to put the load back on the camel. So if you think that's the eye of the needle that Jesus was talking about, or a sewing needle, it's just pretty impossible to get a wealthy person into heaven, because people of wealth, especially people in the church, start to dismiss God because they've got no need for God. When you've got money, it's very hard to be dependent on God or lay your life down for God or serve God when you're serving money. And so I had that scripture. It was bugging me, and I got this famous evangelist in. He used to preach on the streets of England, and he had a big name for himself. So I invited him in. He was a street preacher, and he'd tell it to me straight. And I asked him that I had so much wealth. What does he think? What do I need to do? And he told me to keep Prince Charles off the throne, and I'll go to heaven. And so anyway, Prince Charles got on the throne, but I didn't need to change anything. He said, "You're fine," and so I was happy because he was a straight shooter, and and he'll get rewarded in heaven for getting me here. But I paid attention to the words of Jesus. I had a red lettered edition of the Bible where everything Jesus said was in red, and I made a study of Jesus' words, and I really deeply appreciate these interviews you do with the saints, and I do all the studies on the songs that are my favorite songs, and I do the studies attached to these interviews. And you got to remember once again that if you only do an interview once every 2 days with a saint or less than that, we've got 3 weeks or 6 weeks in between you doing each interview. So we can do the course and do the study and do the whole process before you do the next interview. And even if you do an interview every day, we still have 3 weeks to process that. So I've been doing that, and a lot of heaven has been doing that, and it's been really helpful. Matthew's got so much in him. He needs someone like with good questions to bring it out of him. He's got so much knowledge and wisdom, so much of the Bible he's put into practice, and for a person who hasn't read the Bible for 20 years, he can certainly quote a lot of it. So he makes a good case for this religious practice of you need to read your Bible every day. No, you need to meditate your Bible every day. And it doesn't matter if you haven't read it for 20 years, you need to be putting into the practice every day, not reading fresh stuff that you're bored to read.
Thank you, Queen. Have you got any message for people of the heart that will be watching this later?
So I want to encourage Apostle in South Africa and any of the regular readers, listeners to this playlist in heaven. I want to encourage you to truly, the Apostle in South Africa knows this, but the other people, I want you to discover what your life purpose is. Matthew's got a book called Finding Your Purpose in Christ, which is a really helpful book, and he wrote it for that purpose, to help people find their purpose. You need to find your purpose and start living it, because there's so much reward in heaven for the people who live their purpose on heaven. On earth, if you don't ever discover your purpose on earth, you go to the lowest realm in heaven, and that's just simply how it is. If you never discover what you're here for, then you don't do the work, or you don't do the job God created you to be. So you need to stop wasting your time living and find out what your purpose is, and don't be lazy. And then once you've lived your purpose, just do it with excellence and get better and better. And Tulu can testify that when she started these interviews, she was really green and she didn't know so much what she was doing. And now she's really evolved, and she can even with these conversations with the saints, she can ask really good questions without having pre-planning, and just ask them off the top of the head. And I really enjoy answering her questions. They're so free. So find out your purpose and do it so often that you develop an ability for excellence, and make a purpose of make a decision to become close to Jesus. And Matthew has a book called 7 Keys to Intimacy with Jesus. Make a decided decision to grow close to Jesus.
Thank you, Queen. Has anyone else got anything to say that I've not asked?
I'm pretty comfortable closing it off here. Peter wants to say that Bob caught the biggest snapper on record of being caught in heaven this
Wow.
week, and it was the same day that your parables book was released.
Oh,
And it was a sign of heaven that big things are going to happen. And the whole of heaven was announced that it was the biggest snapper ever caught. And he had a picture of it, had its weight, and heaven knew that that was the same day that the parables of Jesus got thing. It was a divine sign. It was like a sign and wonder of heaven that something new is happening. And so, yeah, I just thought I'd tell you that, just a little tidbit. It was a 22-kilo snapper, which is like 45 pound, and that's unheard of.
that's
And
massive.
yeah, so we had it at the dinner table. We filleted it and cut it up, and we had it as a fish meal.
How were you able to get fish into the house this time around?
Oh, well, don't you know that when someone catches a fish in heaven, you take a picture of it and weigh it, and then you throw it back into the water, and then an angel throws the fish into your ice bucket, the same size, if you want to take it home. The one's just created out of light, but it's the same as the fish that went into the ocean. So no fish
Wow.
ever dies, but you can still have meat and you can still have, yeah, but it's just created out of light.
Yeah, because June did not like fish. So I was wondering, as she
Chefs can prepare it.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay,
June's so ascended. June is so ascended that she never needs to cook again. She's got servants and cooks and maids and all sorts of things.
okay, so everyone
Every
enjoyed.
angel in heaven wants to serve June.
Oh, wow.
Bethany hangs out there like it's her mother-in-law. Yeah.
Oh, that's by Matthew before you close. Ben, have you got anything to say before we close?
I'm just so proud of you, and learn to start giving the girls more treats, because the whole of heaven's watching you as an example.
Okay.
I'm really proud of you, Tulu.
Thank you.
We can keep on going. Have you got any questions for anyone else?
Have I got any question for anyone else? Oh, well, I wanted to, can I ask God a question?
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to ask God that what does God think about boys and girls being confused of who they are, whether they are a boy or a girl? What do you think of that?
It's totally evil. But it's a natural thing too. There's some boys start thinking they're a girl, and some girls start thinking that they're a boy. Some children are confused, but it's an adolescent thing. It shouldn't be something being encouraged by parents and by grown-ups. So it's just evil coming into the world.
Oh, wow. So are you looking forward to our next conversation, God?
Yeah, you can do it tonight if you choose.
That depends on the master, Matthew.
Yeah, well, this conversation warmed him up, so.
Yeah, so if he's ready, I'm always ready. So we'll see.
Yeah,
See.
so God, as God, I want to say, Apostle in South Africa, you really are treasured by us, and the child born of another man is really treasured by us, and he was meant to come into the world. And although things are hard, try and be a father to him if it's possible. All things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. So you love me, you've got a calling on your life, and you've got purpose in your life. Don't let anything slow you down. Don't let anything stop you. We're really proud of you. Within a few weeks, 30 books are going to be sent to you, and we really appreciate your love and every comment that you make on videos. We really appreciate the time that you spend watching the videos, and really appreciate all your feedback, and heaven appreciates it. I, as God, appreciate it. I love you. Confirming things like when Michael said Matthew's the Messiah of heaven, for you to confirm that in a comment. Matthew just needed to hear that. And you give so much comfort to Matthew and to Lou, and there's great reward. There's tremendous reward in heaven for you for being someone who's so encouraging to Matthew and to Lou. And you were chosen for that. You were specifically assigned for that. We put you through your life to be prepared for that, just for a little thing, just to listen to videos and make comments. And some of your comments are truly inspired by the Holy Spirit. They really speak deeply to Matthew and to Lou, and you really encourage them. And I want to thank you for staying so long and listening to this video too. This is Matthew speaking. So have you got anything else to say to Lou?
No, I just want to tell everyone that we love them. Myself and Matthew, we love you all. And thank you for spending your lunch or your dinner time with us. We hope we've not taken too much of your time, but we appreciate it, and have a blessed day.
Yeah. And if you listen to this video to the end, please press like. If you got any comments for this video, please comment. If this is the first video you've seen, these conversations with saints are on a playlist that's listed right next to the title on the right. So I encourage you to go and watch the playlist. If this is the first video you've watched from this channel, I encourage you to watch more. God bless.